Once you get over 1 million, my take is you're kind of a real business. Under 1 million, you kind of have a job where you happen to pay yourself. Maybe like a 600 to 700K, that kind of starts changing. And then, once you get over 1 million, you sold some stuff beyond just you and your capability to deliver, most likely. And you get this trap where the owner is kind of getting in their first black hole around 1 million to 2 million because they've sold enough to generate things that they can't necessarily deliver all themselves.
1, 2, 3, 4.
Welcome to the Small Business Black Holes, the podcast that shines a light on the hidden challenges of scaling a business. Hosted by Alan Pence, each episode explores the critical shifts entrepreneurs make as they grow beyond $1 million, $5 million, even $30 million, and move from brute force to sustainable professional growth. Stay with us as we uncover what it really takes to escape the black holes of business and scale with intention.
Hey, we are back on the Small Business Black Holes podcast. And I'm here with the lovely Tonya. What are we talking about today?
Well, we're going to talk about the assessments that you've been getting from business owners and what their areas of weakness are. Strengths and weaknesses, right? But let's talk about that. But first, if you could just tell us a little bit about what the assessment is exactly, just for those that don't know. Say they're coming in cold.
Yeah, so I built this business maturity assessment. It takes a look at companies across 6 dimensions. So personal vision of the owner, their business strategy. So that's like values and meeting cadence and things like that. And sales and marketing, operations, finance, and then people team. And so we asked a few questions about each. It's kind of, it's hard balance because in some ways it could be a lot more thorough and get a lot more granular, but then how many people are going to sit through, 25 minutes of questions? So it takes about 6 minutes. We're hoping that's sort of a good balance. And we've been running it for a month and a half, 2 months, got some good data now from a lot of the people. And I was looking here, about 45% of the respondents are between 1 and 5 million in revenue. So that's sort of our sweet spot. And we have a few, about 10% each at 10 to 25 million, and 5 to 10 million. And then the rest are below, about 30% are below 1 million. Yeah. So what jumped out at me right away, though, is the lowest average rating was on a question about my team handles most day-to-day actions and my involvement in the business is only in strategic areas. So that was by far, I think by a few points, the lowest scoring area across the board.
Their teams are not doing what they should be. The business owners are too involved in every decision-making and all the tasks.
Yeah, and I think particularly day-to-day kind of like non-strategic, very tactical tasks. And, it'd be interesting to see how this changes over size of business. But in that $1 to $5 million range, that definitely checks out with my coaching experience, because what you get is the owner really to grow at that stage. Because once you get over 1 million, my take is you're kind of a real business. Under 1 million, you kind of have a job where you happen to pay yourself. Maybe like 600 to 700K, that kind of starts changing. And then, once you get over 1 million, you sold some stuff beyond just you and your capability to deliver, most likely. And you get this trap where the owner is kind of getting in their first black hole around 1 million to 2 million because they've sold enough to generate things that they can't necessarily deliver all themselves. Or if they do, they end up jumping from sales and marketing, sell a bunch of stuff, and then they go jump into operations to deliver it, and sales and marketing kind of atrophies. And so you'll find a lot of times the owners are bouncing back and forth between different functions of the business, and whatever's they're involved in at that time is going, but the rest of the stuff kind of atrophies. And so you've got to get out of this trap. And one of the common things I say for bootstrapped owners, because they've had to sell all the stuff themselves, right? At that point, they've shown that they're a decent salesperson to get to over $1 million in sales. If you have like a VC funded company, of course, they can hire salespeople a lot sooner. So it might not be the owner, but in most cases, for almost all bootstrap companies, it's the owner who's the key salesperson. And so they've driven it to this level. And now what they need to do is is really figure out how to get the different parts of the company to operate at the same time and not jump from place to place. So that means the owner.
Not easy.
Yeah, no, it's not easy. And what's really important is the owner needs to figure out where to prioritize his or her time and then where to put resources to cover other things. So I would say in 99% of cases, the owner needs to market and sell more, right? Because they're the one person who can kind of do that well. And what they need to do is pull out of operations more. Maybe not completely, but what they need, it's much easier to hire good talent to deliver to customers, products or services, than it is to sell to them. And so the unique skill set at that stage of 1 to 5 million is the owner's ability to market and sell. And what we need to do is spend a lot of time figuring out how to make every part of sales and marketing as easy as possible for the owner so you can do more and more of it. So like that might mean bringing in an admin resource to manage the CRM or to set up the meetings or to follow up so you can just do more selling. And then on the other side, it probably requires a decently paid hire to help manage the operational flow that you're creating through your sales. And so this is why, the answer to this question is 100% showing that it's very difficult to find that operational person that can take that off your plate. And often, we hire the wrong people. That's just part of life. And so the goal is get better at hiring, figure out exactly what you need, get better at hiring it. If you hire the wrong person, move on quickly. You're a small company. You don't have time to spend 2 years training somebody up, right? And try again. That's basically what you got to do. And it's hard. And it can be painful and uncomfortable, but that's why small businesses return a lot of money, because it's hard and no one wants to do it. So I think the assessment definitely pulled that out as crucial and the biggest problem we're seeing across the board. And then I was going to talk a little bit about a couple of the other lower scores, and then we can kind of go up to the better scores. So the other one I thought was pretty low was marketing ROI. So do we measure the return on investment for our marketing? That was almost as low. The last one was 2.5 out of 5, and this is 2.7. So it's, I think this is a huge area that we need to, almost all businesses need to do more marketing. The problem is, there's a famous quote from the guy who created one of the first department stores that actually had price tags on stuff. It was John Wanamaker from Philadelphia. It's a good Philly boy. Yeah, my hometown. And so he said, half my advertising is wasted. The problem is I don't know which half. And the point being that marketing can feel a little bit like a dark art, as Greg Crabtree says. And it's hard to know what works all the time. And it definitely changes from company to company, like what works in industry to industry. My old industry in government contracting, just digital marketing didn't work the way it would in an e-commerce company or something else, right? So we were more face-to-face, right? Big consultative selling, which is why I was good at it. And so I think but the problem is you've really got to measure. You've got to try. And sometimes you're going to have to use proxies. some digital stuff you can actually measure, you get good measurements. But a lot of people just spend money on marketing and don't have any plan to measure it. And the marketing, yeah, and the marketing companies don't have a lot of incentive to tell you that they're not, they don't have an incentive to be accountable unless they're really, really good, right? So what I find tends to happen is people hire someone who like wants to do marketing, and that to them means writing fun blog posts, and that's about it, right? Or like working on the website. You get a lot of companies that really want to do brand marketing, so they want to build what they want to do a probably more sophisticated version of like your cousin who likes marketing, um, and doesn't want to like do client delivery anymore. So like, hey, why don't I do marketing? Because that's more fun. Um, so they tend to like want to build pretty websites and do kind of like really basic stuff. And it's like, I don't know if this drives my business. First of all, I could probably go get a website built for a couple $100, or I could get a Squarespace. Like, I don't know if I need this. Um, and then what I find beyond that is you get like a lot of companies, a lot of marketers and agencies that try to do like all the marketing techniques. And so they'll try to do Google ads and meta ads and, like SEO and search engine optimization and, 5 other techniques, right? And they're not good at any of them. The other thing you'll find is you'll go try to hire someone and they'll just be like a hammer that everything's a nail, right? So like you might need SEO, but they're into Google ads, so they're always going to drive you to Google ads. And so I think the real problem I see in measuring ROI is that the owners haven't done enough research into what works in their industry and what they really need. Yeah, you really need to do that up front, and you need to do it. Sorry to say, even if you're not an expert in it, you got to find out, because you can't go ask your barber if you need a haircut. It's not going to work. And then once you figure out like, hey, LinkedIn marketing is some professional services, so LinkedIn marketing works really well, or I'm in e-commerce and I have to do Amazon advertising or whatever, then you go find the expert in that. And so one of the things we're building into our OwnerRX tool is a way to understand and look through all the marketing tactics. So we've done deep research on like every kind of marketing tactic from billboards to Google ads, right? And then referral marketing and blah, blah, blah. So we take you through a process of saying, okay, what kind of industry are you? What size are you? What's worked in the past? What hasn't? And try to narrow down your options for marketing tactics. And then we help you understand based on industry and things like that, like probably what's going to work best. Then think through like, what can I do? So if it's just like, hey, I need better content marketing and SEO, you can do some keyword research. You can start building blogs and pages for service offerings on your site by yourself. You don't need an SEO expert to do that. But then if you want to go, if you want to start designing meta ads and figuring out how to get the price per, lead down, blah, 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 you're probably going to need an expert in that. You're probably not going to be able to do that yourself for now. There will soon be, I think soon there'll be agents that'll be able to do this a lot cheaper, but we're not quite there yet. We're probably a year or two from that. But for now, do the work. You can come in a couple months, we'll have OwnerRX out. You can use that and go through and figure out what's going to work for you, or just do the research, right? Talk to people in your industry. Think through what's worked for others. Benchmark, right? Steal, rip off, and duplicate is the R&D, right? So if it works for someone else, it's probably going to work for you. And then go find the expert for it. And then, make sure as part of this, as part of the OwnerRX process, it's like we start with like the agreement with the provider. If you're going to use somebody, or even if you're going to do your own thing, like have the way you're going to measure it set up front. So no, that can't be an afterthought.
I said that will be so helpful for business owners.
Yeah, we're hoping. And then, a couple of good things. I did see that very high score, 3.8 out of 5, because most of these are in the 3s. is having owners meeting with their teams on a weekly basis. Love to see that. And then I was really impressed. The people have a pretty good handle. 84% said they can track their profit margin. Almost 80% said they can track their gross margin. And almost 90% said they regularly track cash flow. So I thought that was pretty impressive. Like, I don't know if that's because I have a lot of overlap with Greg's audience, maybe. Greg Crabtree from Simple Numbers. But my experience in going into new companies that I haven't worked with before is that they don't have any of that. They're not tracking numbers almost at all. It's sort of like management by bank account. And they're mostly flying blind. So I thought it was really impressive that this group has a much more sophisticated handle on their finances.
So you really expect that?
No, I mean, you don't see that in the common company. I mean, they kind of like, now it could be I'm not getting granular enough where like they say tracking cash flow, and what they mean is they look in their bank account, see whether they can spend money on something.
Daily balance sheet.
Right. So that might be, maybe there's a definitional problem, but I do think there's also probably a lot of overlap with Simple Numbers. So those guys, they've got, if you're working with them, you got it dialed in. So it's not an issue. The one I really want to see go up, now it's not terrible. It's 3-1. And let's see. Yeah. 3-1 and 2 here I'll highlight. Is I have documented key personal milestones and a vision for how I want the business I own to fit in my life. So that feels like it should be higher. I'd like to see that be, 4.5 out of 5. Because if you don't have a personal vision and know what you're doing, how you're pursuing it, the business can kind of lead you, or you become, the business is the owner and you're the dog on the leash, right? And the business is dragging you around, not the other way around. So I really think it's one of the key things we're doing with OwnerRX is we start with your most pressing issues. So maybe it's that day-to-day thing, or you can't do strategic things because you're stuck in the day-to-day. But pretty soon after you start using our application, we want you to do a personal vision journey and playbook so that you really understand, what am I doing this business for? Like, what do I want my life to be like? What kind of money do I want to make? How do I want to live my day-to-day life? Who do I want to be around? That's the real key for being an owner and an entrepreneur. Look, if you got a bunch of investors as a VC funding company, you don't get that choice. They're telling you, you better go 100 times this business. But you don't have to do that as an owner. If you're the shareholder, who cares? You get to decide. So you should know what it is.
Well, this type what you call owner freedom, doesn't it?
Owner freedom.
Different people, but that's an important aspect of this.
Exactly. So and how can you know what freedom is to you or how can you know how to get it if you don't define it, right? So I think that's a really important thing. The other thing that I would like to see much higher, and I think this is something that I've developed just in the last month or two, is this thing about owner energy. And I've started that. So it kind of goes back to that day-to-day thing too, where I think a lot of owners are stuck doing a bunch of things that kind of drain them in the business. And that's a lot of times is the day-to-day firefighting and not working on the strategic things they know they need to do. And a lot of times it's like operational issues or finance or something like that versus like selling and marketing, which they're better at. And so another journey we do is getting the owner to think through the things that, we do a kind of a 2x2 matrix as a consultant. I love this. And it's what gives you energy, what drains you, and then what's important to the company and what's unimportant or just, kind of administrative. And basically we want you to put everything that you do into that 2x2. And so for things that, are kind of administrative, low importance and drain you, you send that out, you delegate that to some administrative person, right? Get rid of that. So if you're doing like AR, collecting accounts receivable, just you can go hire a bookkeeper to go do that for you. It's pretty cheap. for things that drain you that are important, like making sure clients are happy or, managing your team, and you don't like that, that's where you've got to go spend money. So, you got to get somebody qualified because you don't want to do it. So make sure you get somebody who knows what they're doing. So they're not going to be like coming to you every 5 seconds. And then the goal is to get you doing everything possible that's highly important to the company and gives you energy. That's where the goal is, right? So, you also get times where owners are doing unimportant things that give them energy. Like they really like, I don't know, like doing coffee meetings with employees, but it's, there's a diminishing return because it doesn't really move the needle that much. But you really should be doing sales where you get energy and, you could potentially book $500,000 in business or something. So, we really want, or we'll have less the employee thing. We'll have people who are like, say they're in a business that does something like a design business or something where there's like a creative aspect and they really like doing the design, but that's kind of low value. There are a bunch of other people that can do that. But it gives the owner energy. And so maybe you do a little bit of it because you like it, but you really that's not the most important thing. And you need to get the owner into the sales and marketing box. So, that's what, we do that 2 by 10 and try to help you come up with strategies to, hire experienced talent, give to admin, do a little bit, minimize the things that are unimportant that give you energy, and then maximize important things that give you energy. Because that's where you're going to get 100-time results, right? 10 times, it's 100 times results.
I mean, the matrix is cool because it seems that's kind of a simple way to distill really important information. Not that the process of getting there is going to be easy, but to actually have it, in that form, we can see right there, like, oh yeah, this is sucking my energy. This is a vampire in my business.
Yeah, and I had this with coaching. Just like last month, I had somebody who they were having a tough time, and 2 partners, and they were kind of both rolling up their sleeves, working on similar things. And it really came out that like one of them is really good operationally and one is really good at sales. And they were kind of both half doing both. And they realized through the exercise, oh my gosh, I got to get back to like my core thing because I'm like, first of all, there's another person here who gets energy from it. I'm getting drained and I'm not doing the thing I'm really good at as well. And so they completely separated those 2 roles out and like, bang, they're off to the races. It's
and it
awesome.
wasn't a day-long retreat, right?
No, we did it. We did it in about 15 minutes.
Come to this realization.
Yeah. Yeah. It's really powerful when you get that kind of clarity. I mean, that's what coaching's for, is like you have a third party that's using like a technique that works with other people to just like reveal a blind spot to yourself or something, but didn't want to admit or didn't know, or, felt like, oh, I should split everything 50-50 because that's fair, right? Instead of like really thinking about what's valuable to the company. And so, so that's a couple of the insights. Definitely, we're going to have the assessment. Right now, it's still on the website at OwnerInstitute.com. But as soon as we release the product, OwnerRX, it'll be built into the product and you can take it and then see, like it'll help the OwnerRX will start helping you wherever your low score was, say that day-to-day one, it'll open up like a playbook kind of journey for you to help fix that in your company and break it down into a step-by-step, day-by-day solution to that problem. So if you're interested in that product too, we're going to have a link to sign up for the wait list for OwnerRX. It should be great. I think our alpha is coming up in June, and then hopefully we're out in July, August on the beta. So, yeah. Well, cool. Thank you. It was fun to catch up. We'll talk soon.
You too. See you on.
You've been listening to the Small Business Black Holes podcast with Alan Pence. For more insights on mastering the new game, follow @apent, that's APENTZ on X, and make sure to subscribe to the podcast so you don't miss a single episode. Thanks for tuning in, and remember, in today's world, you don't follow the rules, you write them.